And we are live once again. Welcome everybody to the Dave K Show. I'm David K. Jower, your host tonight, and so glad that everybody's joining in. Hey, look, if you are joining in, you got some friends that don't know about the show, real quickly, why don't you go and tell them, log on to Facebook and go to the Dave K Show Facebook and start watching the show. We got a great show headed for you tonight. And once again, we are broadcasting from the beautiful banks of Falls River in New Roads, Louisiana, at the historic Julian Pargis Art Center and Museum on the third floor out here. Here's our studios. Anytime you're in the area, I invite you guys to come out here and check us out and come visit us. Come check out what we're doing. We got a great studio, a lot of great things in store for the future for sure. We're expanding at a rapid pace right now. We're getting some more staff members on board behind the scenes. You wouldn't even believe what it takes to produce a show as simple as ours. It takes a lot of stuff behind the scenes, a lot of equipment, a lot of expertise, a pretty good host, and some great guests. It all takes that to kind of make the show come together and everything. So once again, like I said, welcome to the show. We've been out for about 2 or 3 weeks, I guess it's been, because we've been trying to get a lot of stuff behind the scenes renovated and get this new equipment that we bought in. We got a lot of new equipment that it's gonna make us look better and sound better. So we're looking forward to bringing you the best shows that we can. So we always want to put a plug in for 2 of our media partners in New Roads and Point Capee, which is the Point Capee Banner, which is the paper newspaper that you can still get. Point Capee Banner is also still on Facebook, and you can get some digital media that way from them. Also, PointCapeeReporter.com. Check their website out for the latest and greatest information from New Roads and Point Capee Parish. And with those 2, and with the Dave K Show, we got you covered as far as media, as far as entertainment, news, anything that's going on in Point Capee Parish. We are the go-to guys to go to for sure. All right, so without further ado, we got a jam-packed show today. We're going to skip our takeoff roll today because we got so much to talk about today. I want to welcome our special guest that we have, and she has owned Inside Out Yoga for quite a while here in the New Roads area. She's a yoga instructor. She's a teacher. She's very knowledgeable in yoga and those practices and art forms and everything. And so I know I had a lot of questions going into it whenever we got her on the show, and I know you might have a lot of questions too. Before I introduce her, I want to also tell you that we're going to open up our phone lines, and we really encourage our viewers to call in. You can actually call in the show tonight. We're live right now. What you're seeing is going on at this very moment, minus the 2-second delay, of course. And our number is going to be 225-713-5099. Once again, 225-713-5099, and make sure that you call in with your comment or your question. I know you're going to have some comments and questions after we start getting with our conversation. So once again, and we're going to have those little things pop up on the screen, graphs and everything. So without further ado, our special guest tonight is Miss Tonya Wyandon. How you doing, Tonya?
Hi, Dave. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. We got a lot to talk about tonight. So incidentally, I got to say, the room that we're in right now used to be your studio, right?
Yes, a suite 320 and 321.
Right, it's
Absolutely.
awesome. And so
yes.
now 321 is the studio and 320 is our control room.
Yes, right.
Yeah, and there's a even funnier story because the night of our
Hosting, when we opened up the open house, my mom told me that this very room, 321, was her classroom.
Interesting.
Yes,
Wow.
she's a retired school teacher.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
So
amazing.
it was
Wow.
just so much synchronicity behind
Yes.
this room.
Interesting.
this
Yeah, get a little
number.
closer to the mic right here because I want to hear you
Certainly.
really, really good. Yes,
Yeah.
eat that microphone, I would say. That's amazing. So we got like 3 generations of stuff going on in this room that are connected to each other.
Yeah. Now we're officially family.
Yes. Thank you. Give me 5.
Hi.
Boom. Yes, I love it. I love it. That is great. So as a lot of people don't know, you own Inside Out Yoga, and when you mention the term yoga, okay, so we have all kind of negative and positive connotations that come with that, depending on who you are, depending on what you know about yoga, and depending on what you've seen or heard in the media, right? So I have to first put it out there. So when you say yoga, a lot of people officially they'll put it in like a broad category, but there's so much more intricacies, I think, that you can go down into, right? So tell us a little bit about what the practice of yoga is all about, generally speaking, and then we'll go into some finer details.
Okay. Well, the practice of yoga has been around for 5,000 years, but it became really popular or mainstream, I guess you would say, in the late 1800s. And then the early 1900s, it became even more popular.
It goes that far back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, all that being said, yoga is many things. It could be many for many people, many things for many people. The word yoga means to yoke, means to unite. So that's what the word means,
Interesting.
yoga. Yoga is a combination of a practice of mind, body, spirit. And when you say body, most of the Western culture, which is us in, when we're not in the East practicing. So if you're not practicing, for example, in India, where it's really very spiritual practice, less physical practice. Here in the West, we have created a practice that is more for the body.
Right.
But the reason that I named my business Inside Out Yoga is because it is my desire to always bring that sense of inner back into the practice, inner energy. So it's not always about the physical active practice, but it's what's happening internally within the body.
Right. So, who all would yoga be beneficial to?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Anyone can practice yoga. My oldest client is 80 years old, and she uses a walker, and she practices yoga.
That's incredible.
Now, it might
Wow.
not be what you think. She is not on the ground. She is not using a mat, but she is able to practice chair yoga. So this is a yoga that you can practice sitting in a chair. Yes.
What got you interested in yoga and getting started in it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was a stay-at-home mom and pretty tied down to the daily activities of raising very young kids. And I had actually started practicing yoga at a health club very steadily. And prior to that, prior to having kids, I would practice on occasion. Maybe in my 20s, I would grab a class. Sometime in my early 30s, I would grab a class. But after having kids, I started practicing more regularly. And I can recall the moment that I was lying on a mat and I was thinking, I really want to better understand what it is that I'm beginning to feel. What are these things that are coming up for me while I'm practicing this practice that I really know nothing of other than the physical practice? And so I decided that I wanted to take a course, not necessarily become a teacher, but to dive in and better understand the philosophy as well as the physical. And so I decided to take a class to become a teacher, not knowing again that I would teach, but this was a very well-rounded practice that was being offered probably a good 45 minutes away from where I lived. And so that's my story.
Interesting.
That
Wow.
changed my life.
And how long ago was that you got started?
Oh, that was probably 2010.
Okay, so 9 years
2010.
ago, 19,
Yeah.
going on 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And right out of the gate, as soon as I was certified, I started practicing with people. So sometimes, of course, people will train and they'll get certified and they may wait a little while. They may wait a year. Some people do, some people don't. But right out of the gate,
You wasted no time. You were
no
right
time.
into it, right?
Yeah, I was like, let me give this.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think the reason for that was because I got something so good I want to share it with other people.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Tell me some success stories in the past that come out to mind. What are some success stories where you saw yoga really benefit somebody? So maybe some extreme examples, possibly.
I don't know that I have any
It's
extreme.
Yeah, extreme examples because this is yoga, but so I don't know that I could use the word extreme. But
I guess
what
I was thinking about like health problems and stuff like that,
Yes.
where it made a difference in people's lives.
Oh, yes. Well, it happens all of the time. People transform through practice on the mat all of the time. So, I mean, I've had people that suffer with hypertension, and their numbers come down. Their blood sugar level usually is spiked, and now it's very low, and they're having to have some peppermints in class or drink some juice
Right.
prior to yoga class.
Wow.
People have breakthroughs on the mat more than you would think. The person that I told you that I'm practicing with now, who is 80 years old, was unable to stand without the aid of a walker. And so she does stand. The walker is there for her, but she is able to stand. And now she's able to fold over and press her hands on the chair and bend over and rise back up again. Long story short, just having confidence within your body is a miracle.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember
Practice all the
my
time.
furthest memories of yoga or being exposed to it, like we talked about earlier, when you came by earlier, is Lilia's Yoga and You back on PBS in the late '70s is when I first got. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I remember my mom going to do different things. I would turn the TV on. I always watch Channel 27 in Baton Rouge, and so I remember that program would come on. As an 8-year-old, I was sitting in front of the TV doing what she was doing.
Yes.
And I have fond memories of that, And even as an 8-year-old, I can remember some benefits. So it's incredible.
Yes. So what fascinated you the most about watching her?
Yes. So like, first of all, she was a pretty girl,
Okay.
She, and I remember
long
that long
ponytail. Yeah.
line, for everything else to kind of come into place.
Right.
So that's and of course, me being 51 years old now, I know a whole lot more and everything. I never really did follow up on yoga a lot, but I heard a lot about it. So let's talk about first of all some of the negative connotations a lot of people have toward yoga. And I know a lot of people in the Christian world will say like, you can't practice yoga because it's it's New Age, it's Middle Eastern stuff, and we don't allow that kind of stuff and everything. What would you say to those people?
Oh wow, what would I say to the people that have point of views about yoga that they feel are not Christ-centered, perhaps, or not spiritual, or not of God? What would I have to say to them?
And hold that thought for a second. Chris back there, so why don't you put the phone number on the screen, because we may generate some discussion. You never know. And we want to do that. We want to generate some discussion, positive. Keep everybody's comments positive, of course. And put that number on the screen. Our 24-hour hotline is 225-713-5099. And if you want to chime in on our conversation, we're talking about Inside Out Yoga with Tonya Wyandon from here in Port Capee. We welcome you to join our conversation on the telephone. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Well, I've actually encountered from time to time, and I don't anymore for some reason. I don't know why that is. But when I first relocated to Louisiana from South Florida, I did get that type of feedback where I would have someone question why I was offering yoga, because just it was not of God, is what I was told. Now, mind you, in my class, when I teach yoga, I do not teach yoga to practice any sort of dogma, any sort of spirituality, any sort of religion. I'm spending time with my clients or my class to introduce breath, to introduce movement, to allow them to have a space to have some peace of mind, and to get healthy. So I'm not there to preach. I'm not there to tell anyone what they should or should not do, whether it be spiritual, religious, or other. So I guess to answer that question, I have decided when that happened to me, when I would get those questions, I would answer them the best that I could. And but I also knew that that wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other hand, there are yoga practices, bhakti yoga, karma yoga. There are yoga practices that do offer more spiritual-based practice, but that is not I am not a teacher of such.
Right.
So, but I also don't judge, and I also ask everyone to not judge, especially if there's something that you're uncertain of. Whatever people decide to practice, whether it be in the church or on the yoga mat, it's really not of my concern. So I really just try to stay really clear from that. And I just keep things moving the way that I keep it moving.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, definitely. And the thing is, the benefits are just, they're out there.
They're
They're
huge.
undeniable benefits to
Absolutely.
yoga.
Life
It's amazing.
changing.
Yes, you and I were practicing a few things when you came to the studio, and within
Yeah.
2 or 3 minutes, I mean, I could feel
Yeah.
instant results.
Yeah.
And it's
Thank
like I
you.
said, it all starts with the body, like you said, and you're getting the body in line. Let's talk about this too, and we're all guilty of it because it seems to me everything kind of starts with the body. Is that correct? Before you can kind of get deeper into it, and if your body's not in tune, I mean, isn't it hard for everything else to kind of line up?
Well, actually, that's opposite.
Really?
Because, yeah, as human beings, we think that it's all about the body, but in actuality, it's about the breath.
Interesting.
So, in
Interesting.
actuality, it's about the breath. It's actually about calling in your breath, calming the mind and calling in the breath. And then the breath starts to circulate within your system. And so the body starts to perhaps relax a little bit more so that the body can receive more of the practice.
Right.
Yes.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Hmm.
So I guess the segue into that, what I was headed for was to take care of our bodies, to take to make sure, because that's the temple we live in. This I always like to call the body our interface to the world.
Yes.
This is how our spirits interact with each other is through our bodies.
Through the body. Yes,
And
yes.
so,
because we are the shell. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I like my friend Bob Bennett, a songwriter, called the body the mortal cage. Is what it is, because it's not here forever. It's mortal, and it's the cage that we live in, basically, and everything. We die, of course, we're free.
Yeah.
But I want to take that into taking care of our bodies, and I'm guilty of it a lot too. I'm actually diabetic, so it's a lifelong challenge for me to take care of my body in that aspect.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just do the things that come naturally, as far as sugar, cokes, all the bad stuff and everything. But it's a silent killer, and you have to stay on top of it every day. Everybody has their own demons they work with. For some people, it's obesity. Some people, it's smoking. Some people, it's other unnatural, unhealthy habits and everything. That is the challenge. Can yoga help you overcome those things?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Dave, everything is a practice.
Say that again.
Everything you do is a practice. And really, yoga is part theory and a lot of practice. 99% practice.
Right.
And so that's no different from someone who's trying to kick the habit of smoking cigarettes. They have to practice how not really how to not smoke, but how to modify so that little by little they are able to take it down from perhaps a pack of cigarettes to 2 cigarettes to 1 cigarette.
Right.
And if they're lucky and they keep practicing, no cigarettes.
Interesting.
So it's all practice. So even with the cokes or whatever your situation is, you must practice.
Yes, that's very, very good.
Yeah.
And important thing too is not to replace one bad thing with another bad thing.
Well, the practice is life changing. So the practice, once you start to practice something that you're practicing towards bettering yourself or being a better person or better version of self or whatever the case may be, that is replacing the bad habit. Yeah.
Very good.
And then
That's
you could
awesome.
take that same thing and you just take that further. Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yes, that is very good. I like to talk about things that we talk about synchronicities and stuff like that, and kind of positioning yourself I don't believe in the coincidences like we were talking about earlier. Coincidences on the out, it seems like they're coincidences on the outside when things happen. But I think there's like more going under the scenes, behind the scenes that make things happen that appear to be coincidences, right? Like you were saying when I picked the green shirt today and you were wearing green right here, which is interesting. I don't think that was a coincidence. It seems like that, but it's like synchronicities, It's like two mindful people coming together and things happening.
Yeah.
So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I love when that happens.
Yes.
Yeah, that's way cool.
Right.
When that happens. No, it is. It's just us being in sync. We're coming together to rap and have a conversation about yoga, and then you just grab the green shirt, and you're like, "Oh, look, I'm wearing green, and
Right.
you're wearing green." And
your
that
earphones
happens.
are green.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my little earbuds. And I was just saying that I only teach one group now. Everything else I do one-on-ones. And lately, when I walk into class, there will be 3 people wearing purple, 2 people wearing gray, 4 people wearing pink.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we love that. So I
Yes.
walk in and I say, "Oh, let's check it out," and then we go down the line, and The ladies
That's
go,
amazing.
oh,
Right.
yeah,
And I wonder if you were to ask those people, what made you wear those colors, they probably wouldn't say, I would just pick it out of my closet and it just happened.
right.
But it happens for everybody.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
me, I just grab something and run.
Right. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is great. So we were talking earlier about making decisions and how the small, like kind of the butterfly effect, one small decision that you make kind of snowballs into other decisions that other people make, and actually literally changes the world. It can change the world. It's amazing, It's like, and that's all being going back to synchronicity and things like that. This happened to me a long time ago. A lot of people talk about the number 11, like 111. A lot of times you'll look at the clock and it's 11:11 at night, or it's 11:11 in the morning, or it's 1:11 in the afternoon. And it happened to me so many times a while back that I actually got my phone out and my notepad. And I started writing down dates and times. Well, we know the time, but I would
Yeah.
write down dates every time it would happen, and I stopped keeping track of it. But it's amazing that the synchronicities are really, really cool.
Yeah.
And the good thing about them is they can put you in the right place at the right time. But I think certain things have to happen for that in your life for that to happen, because when we constantly dealing with negative vibes and negative things, we can go down the road of negativity. When we're constantly being uplifting and positive, having a positive attitude, we can go up to the path of positivity, and that leads us in good directions.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that when you see certain symbols and certain signs, it's just a beautiful moment to create a pause in your life, and to just reflect and think about it. It's just so thought provoking when you're consistently seeing maybe, an 11 come up, or a row of nines, or consistently seeing a street sign on auto repeat.
Right.
It gives you that time to pause, and for me it says pay attention.
Right.
Not necessarily that that you will win the lottery, or something is going to happen. It just, because everyone's that's really the practice of yoga. I mean, when you're in the studio and you're practicing, or if I'm coming to your home or whatever have you, when you're practicing, you lay your mat down, your phone has to be off. We completely disconnect from everything around us.
Yes.
And so that gives you the opportunity to really move into your body and really feel what you're feeling and experience what you're experiencing and be very present.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And talk about the importance also of take that a step further. What you said. Talk to us about the importance of breaking away from social media and all the things that distract us and take so much time for our lives.
Wow.
That accounts for so many missed opportunities right there.
Well, I am I I have a presence on social media, but I'm not active on social media. You know,
And it's good to be on there, but like I said,
absolutely.
everything in moderation.
Right, everything in moderation. And I mean, of course, no one can dictate to another what works or what does not work. However, I think our society, I feel like, well, let me just speak for myself. I know for someone like me, I try not to really use too much social media because I like to depend on my senses. I like to hold a book. I like to read the book, read the words.
Yes.
I like to take baths. I like to actually disconnect, especially because I drive a lot and I'm around people a lot. And I like to
make time to decompress. So if I come home and I jump on my phone or my laptop and I start, sending the likes and responses, then that takes me to a whole nother space where I'm unable to decompress and I'm unable to release and I'm unable to just be present and be still.
Yes. So
Yeah.
important. Yes.
And that is, it's just my take on social media. I think it's really important and I think it's very relevant. I do. I just think all things in moderation for someone like me. But of course, everyone has to have their own path.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's like, that one little piece of cake is fine, but not eating the whole cake at one time, and
unless you're really hungry.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's low blood sugar. And the thing is social media is good as a communication tool.
Yes.
And like I said, if you have a business like you, to get your word out and everything.
Right.
But you can get so hooked on it. And it's I read an article recently where we're creating a generation of narcissists. And it's like, how many likes do I have? How many people are like me today? How many people like things that I've said? How many people like the pictures that I put out and everything? It's just like all about you. A lot of people don't realize it, but when you're getting on social media, looking at who sent you a message, it's all about you.
Right.
And so that's really kind of warping our up and coming generation, I think. And I like the policy that you have, that you kind of keep it in moderation. And I'm learning to do that myself. And it's so easy to get in your bed. And when you have downtime, it's like you're looking for things to do. So if you reach for your phone automatically and everything.
Right.
But what you're saying is put that away.
Practice.
Yes.
Putting it away, or practice only allowing yourself perhaps a certain amount of time, maybe to check your emails, between 4 and 6.
Yes.
Versus checking the emails consistently throughout the day. Sometimes those things make us really stressed out.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Because there's so much coming at you on a daily
Yes.
basis. Think about the amount of text messages you get on a daily basis. Think
Wow.
about how you have to always, that you feel you have to always make an immediate response.
True.
So
Right.
you have to think about what's working for you. Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I really stressed out? Why am I so stressed out?
Yes.
What can I do to create a better lifestyle for myself so that I'm finding my way every day without the amount of stress or anxiety? I know a lot of kids these days they have a lot of anxiety.
Yes, they do.
This new generation,
Yes.
the millennials have a lot of anxiety.
And what is the reason for that?
Well, I mean, I'm no scientist, but I do believe that technology could have played a part in that.
Agreed. Yep.
Yeah, when there's there's a lot of fresh air and a lot of hills and a lot of streets to run around and roll down the
Right.
get on a bicycle,
Yes.
hang out under a tree, get in a tire and swing,
Yes.
and our kids have missed out on a lot of those things.
Yes,
But
they
it is
have.
what it is. Society is what it is, and but we can try to call that back in if we see that something is not working for us, or we are looking for something else to reel us back in.
Right.
Yeah.
I've even saw, one of the negative factors of our cell phones is like a lot of people lay in bed at night, like we were talking about earlier, and they look at the phone, and the blue light from the phone is messing you up with your circadian rhythm, and you have all this brightness coming into your eyes at nighttime.
Not to mention the eyes. I mean, I hear a lot of people lately talk about their eyesight, and I'm not knowledgeable about such, but I'm thinking that it would really start to
Yes.
bother the eyes. Or
Yes, holding something that close to your eyes for so
Yeah.
long. Remember your mom used to tell you, don't get in front of the TV too close.
That's so true. That's when we had that TV with the big antennas.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
let's tell our age.
Yeah, I know, right, exactly. So I have to say
Yeah.
that you mentioned that.
So true.
Remember putting tinfoil in antennas and
Oh, yes. Had to catch those 2 channels.
Right, exactly. Right,
Yeah.
and then we twisted
Looked
a certain
like little
way.
flags.
Right.
So funny.
I miss those days though. Don't
Yeah.
miss those days. Those were a lot of fun,
Well, when you say
So.
you miss those days, that's when you sat in front of, the PBS. And there was the guy who had the afro and he painted
Yes,
watercolor.
Bob Ross. Yes,
and
right.
the Lila yoga.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was Yeah,
Right. There's
those
so many
were
educational programs on.
absolutely,
Yes, I learned so
absolutely.
much myself, you know.
Yeah,
Mr. Rogers, you know, good wholesome educational stuff, you know.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
we don't. We have the Tom Hanks movie out that kind of talks about that, but we don't really have anything that's replacing those good programs like that, you know. So it's kind of sad. Well, that is very very good.
But I
Uh,
don't agree that like there's nothing to replace the sense of, community, or the sense of stepping back, like the Mr. Rogers movie that's coming out. I think that it's still present. I just think that sometimes we just need redirection,
right.
because I think it's there. I think it's always there. It's
Yeah.
never going
Yeah, you're
anywhere.
right. I think it gets lost in
Just
the
gets
mix, so to speak.
lost.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because back in the 70s and 80s, we had no cell phones, we had no
Right.
computers. The only thing there was to do was to get in front of the TV.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And we
We
did.
did.
We
We
had
had
more of a balance
balance
in our
in our
lives.
lives.
We,
We
Right.
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
We
in
was
front
in
of the
front of the
television.
televisions, but then we also left the TV and went out and played.
yes, we did. Right. And we ate
Yeah.
supper with our parents and our siblings
Right.
at the dinner table,
Right.
which
And we
is like very rare.
communicated to one another and gave a lot of eye contact and
Yes.
talked to people. And
Yes.
yeah, we were very present.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that right now. Like my little policy right now is like rather if I'm going to be text messaging somebody, if I can, I would rather just call them up and talk to them on
Yes.
the phone. And a lot of people they don't want to do that; they just want to text. But I'll just give you a call. Let's just
Yes.
talk. You know.
Yes. Who has that very bad habit that you know? Me.
Okay. Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
I get
it's
so
like,
overwhelmed.
but there's so many people. You can't, of course, you can't talk to everybody. But like I
Right.
guess like the more important stuff, we could make that phone conversation or whatever and talk to people.
Yeah, it's
And
just it's a connection. Voice to voice is a connection.
Yes.
So touching is a connection. Connecting with someone's voice is also very powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm that way when I go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
I'll skip the. Lately, I've been doing the self checkout when I'm in a hurry, whatever. But I'd rather have a communication and give my money to a human being and make the even maybe accidentally touching somebody's hand. I mean, that's a little connection going on right there. You
Yes,
know, when you give money.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
go through the drive through and when you go to Burger King, McDonald's, whatever, don't do the kiosk thing. Go talk to somebody, a person. Well, you probably shouldn't be going to McDonald's anyway, but but people who have those things.
No worries.
Yes,
Yeah.
talk to a human being, and it has nothing to do with I'm going to take their job if I do that. No, just talk to a human being, get the human element going
Yes.
in your lives,
Yes. And support you're supporting cashiers, or you're supporting people still being able to have jobs and
Yes, you are.
and
Yes.
work versus the self checkouts and so forth and so on.
Exactly, definitely. And this is something interesting that I've been doing lately because I always try to experiment with cool little things to kind of make other people's lives better and
Yeah.
my own lives better. Whenever you're walking down a hall, okay, say at a hospital, and somebody's walking towards you,
Yes.
a lot of times you have a tendency to look down or just like ignore them and just walk past them and everything. I've been actually acknowledging people lately who I'm walking toward, and it's like their faces look kind of sometimes. A lot of people are just sad these days. You go to Walmart, people are just sad. They're walking around with like long faces all the time. I've noticed like I observe people.
Yeah.
So I say like, "How you doing?" or whatever, and it lights their face. So okay, I'm doing great, and their face kind of lights up and it might go down again. But I've actually communicated with that person for about 10, 15 seconds, and then to me it feels good to do that rather than having an invisible wall between you and somebody.
Right.
When you're talking, if you're in line with somebody at the grocery store, strike up a little conversation with
I
them.
think that's very important. I
Yes.
think eye contact is very important, especially when you're in public area like
Yes.
stores or have to keep that going.
Really do. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It's just naturally going to fall into a pretty bad state if we don't do something about it. You're so right. And I encourage people to make a difference in the world. And I have a friend of mine who, if he's watching, he knows who he is. I won't mention any names, but um, he kind of gets so fed up with humanity and society, whatever. He just wants to go move to the mountains and just go live in the mountains. I'm going like, don't do that, please. Make your world a better place to live. Don't just be in a cabin somewhere by yourself the rest of your life. Go make a difference in your world. He wants to maybe run for office about something that's coming up pretty soon. He wanted to run for office. I said, don't go to the mountains in a cabin and live the rest of your life. Go make a difference. Go run for election. Do what you want to do, whatever. Make a difference in the world and everything. Don't just write humanity off.
But you know what? Who knows what will happen when he comes out of that cabin? What kind of great,
right.
Meditative
if it's temporary,
experience.
Right. Yes, if it's temporary.
Right.
Yes.
And sometimes we actually need that. Sometimes we
That's
actually
good.
need to actually, step back and have timeouts.
That's very
More
good.
often than not, we really do. It's that space. It's within that space of like contemplation that creativity happens. And then when you come out of that space, then you're able to birth something
right,
and bring
right.
something back. So those
Yes.
spaces in the mountains might be.
That's true.
Yeah,
I totally
really,
agree with that.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
don't live the rest of your life over there and
Yeah.
sell your car.
Because you'll buy it.
I know. Right. I know exactly.
Yeah.
That's very, very good. I like
yeah,
that.
it's very yogi.
Right, it is,
Yeah.
and that's the purpose of vacations too. A lot of times, if you do them right, you need to take some time off. Yes.
Yes, a reset. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got too many people, myself included, that are overworked. And so I've been overworked for like a year now. And I went to a staff meeting the other day.
Yeah.
And my friends will know this who are watching. And they go like, Dave, you need to ride home. You look horrible, man. You're okay, man?
Don't you love that?
I know. And the two people told me that. Yeah, and so I got to thinking, I really haven't been. I've been getting 3 hours of sleep for the past month, and it's like, people are starting to see it on my face,
Yes.
and that was a turning point in my life. That happened about a month ago, and I'm like, you know what? I says, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to start taking time for myself. I'm going to start getting more sleep. I'm going to start learning how to say no
Yes.
to people, or just
So important.
yeah, wait a little while. And I think people watching need to listen to that. If you're overworked, take inventory of your life. See what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Make time for sleep. Number one, you've got to get your rest.
Right.
And I noticed since I've gotten my rest and everything, I feel rejuvenated. The creativity spikes.
Yes.
You just feel so much better about life in general.
Yes.
And you have a more positive outlook on life.
No, I agree.
So,
wholeheartedly. I
yeah.
do agree.
Talk to people about the importance of rest. Really, I mean.
Rest is extremely important. I mean, it's what helps to keep us really healthy. We're not scheduling downtime lately, I don't find. Most people say, I don't have time to take a nap even. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think we have to start prioritizing a little better.
Yes.
So that we can get the things in that we need for our bodies.
Very good.
Whether it be water, because we're not drinking enough water. So what are we doing to make sure we get enough water intake? Are you carrying a water bottle? Or are you not? If you're not, then it's hard to get your water in. So you're not
And
really prioritizing.
And you have water in here, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, water. I love water, though.
Yes.
And the same with sleep. I mean, it's just a matter of saying, you know what, I'm shutting down at 9 o'clock, irregardless of the dishes, irregardless of this TV show that I can really record and watch on the weekend. I'm shutting down.
Yes.
So creating space for self-care is really important. And if you're not getting it, then you're missing out.
You sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But everyone has an opportunity to create space for self-care.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
There are 24 hours in a day. We all have the same amount of time every
Absolutely.
day, and
Yeah.
other people are doing it. We can do it too.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And I like how you said that too. If you're taking medications like I'm taking, like I have to take my my little pills every morning or whatever,
Yeah.
and a lot of times I'm tempted not to do that because I'm in a hurry. But I got to stop myself. No, I'm going to take care of myself. I drink a bottle of water first thing in the morning before I go to work, just in case they get kind of busy or whatever.
Right.
But you're tempted every day to skip those things and to do things that are other things, But it's like, no, I always remind myself, I come first.
Yes.
I'm going to take my medicine in the morning. I'm going to drink my water, and then I'll get to the business of the day.
Right. And our days really become really hectic. I mean, hectic. hectic. Excuse me.
Right.
I am. I mean, I drive a lot. Like, I just go from place to place to place to place. But I also have to take time out. Like, so sometimes I'll just park, and I'll just kick back. You
Right.
know,
Good.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to create little spaces within your day so that you can refresh and recharge and regroup. I mean, that's really important.
Yes.
I don't think that people know that self care is really not a big word. It's really a lot of small stuff that you do to
Mhm.
maintain
Yes.
self in the most positive, best way
Yes.
there is. Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, this little conversation is taking us on an individual basis where we're taking care of ourselves, it's
Yeah.
us and everything.
Yeah.
What I want you to talk about is now when we get into a relationship with somebody, be it
Okay.
your boyfriend, your girlfriend, a friend, or whatever. Okay, so now say we've got ourselves taken care of,
Yeah.
and we're in a relationship with a close significant other.
Okay.
So I want to basically just talk about toxic relationships and
Okay.
how they affect how they affect you, whatever. Talk about, and I'm talking probably to 60% of the people that are watching right now. If you're involved in a toxic relationship, number one, how can that adversely affect you? And number two, how can we remedy that?
How
I
does
know
that
that's a
affect
whole
you if
other
you're in
show.
it? Oh,
That's a whole
gosh.
other show, but
Okay,
bullet
so
points.
okay, so let me put on my therapist hat.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
how does it
I know you can
affect
help us out. I know you
Okay,
can help us out.
well,
It's
here's my
obvious.
here's my take on toxic relationships, whether it be with a significant other, whether it be with a coworker, whomever. The way that I see it, Dave, is that we are made up of energy, and my belief is that when you start to sense that the person that you perhaps love, if you're in a relationship with that person, or if it's a coworker, whatever have you, if you feel bad around that person, if that person, if you sense, that something's not right, you have the right as a human to make a shift that allows you to place yourself in a situation that feels better. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, anytime you feel that something is not right within a relationship, then you have an opportunity, if you work on it, to create a space for yourself that feels safer, that feels better, that feels more energetically good for you. Because again, I do believe that energies are really strong these
Yes.
days. And I think that if we could start to not just always see people as skin and bones, and recognize that everyone's energy is not always going to be the same or match your energy level, then that's when you have an opportunity to move further and make some choices for yourself.
Right.
Based
Very,
on
very good.
your energy.
Right. Now, the takeaway that I'm getting from you is
Yeah.
the power to do this is in your hands.
Absolutely. It always bounces right back to you. It's really not. Sometimes those relationships are just mirrors, some things that I feel that you have to work on for yourself.
Right.
Sometimes people really do come into our
Interesting.
lives, and they really are mirrors. And so it's when you look back at relationships, when you really look back at some of the things perhaps that you have experienced that were very challenging, 9 times out of 10 you probably are thinking or saying, you know what, I knew that, but I just wasn't ready to handle it, or I just wasn't ready to face it. We always know.
Right.
Yeah, deep
Interesting.
down.
That is interesting.
Yeah, we always know.
That is interesting. It runs the gamut from two people who love each other, and they're flawed, but they love each other, and it's guaranteed you're going to get on each other's nerves, eventually one way or
Right.
the other. But you make up,
Right.
and you make it. That's the low end of it. The high end of it will be now we'll be starting getting into abusive situations.
Mhm.
recognize are not really good for that person. It seems though sometimes everyone around knows, especially when it comes to abuse.
Right.
But there are always resources, and there's always assistance, and there's always help. But all that being said, it really has to come to that person deciding, making a decision and saying, you know what, I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
And then I am ready to move forward.
Right. So there's got to be that tipping point, right? Something has to happen. A lot of times a spark has to happen or something.
It has to happen within that person.
Yes.
It's just like going to a yoga class. Either you feel, you go and you get the benefits, or you don't. You have to make the choice. You have to make the choice. Am I going to take my meds? Will I not? Am I going to stay in the situation again today? Or am I going to finally move forward? Sometimes people are in relationships because there are lessons to learn.
Interesting.
Within those relationships.
Very interesting, yes.
And so once that lesson is learned, then that person may be freed and able
That's
to
a great way to look at it.
move forward into the next lesson.
Right. That is amazing. I love that. That is so true, because a lot of times you have to go through something to find out, what makes you tick, how far you're going to go, how's it going to affect your life and everything. And a lot of times the ultimate thing is you can help somebody else. If you get out of that relationship, you can be there for somebody, because a lot of times people just don't know unless they've been there.
Right.
And that puts you in a position where you can help other people and everything. But our prayer is that people that are watching can, like you said, focus on self first.
Right.
And
care for self.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
care for self.
So important, man.
Yeah.
It's so important and everything. I have to ask you a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
Moving on to, from relationship, we kind of scattering all around the place,
No worries.
covering all kind of stuff. Can we go into a spiritual area for a little while?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
I'll see what I can do.
Sure, absolutely. Because everybody's got opinions and thoughts and everything.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on reincarnation?
Oh, what are my thoughts on reincarnation?
Right, exactly. And of course, let me preface that a second, because that can mean different people to different things. So, when I say reincarnation, what I mean by is when the soul leaves the body, it goes somewhere else to start over again, basically, is what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So, and the reason I'm asking you this is because it's a legitimate question. We should never be afraid to ask questions.
Absolutely.
We should always have, opinions on something. So,
Absolutely.
So the dilemma that I find myself in, I'm a Christian, I really am.
Okay.
Because we know that the spirit is eternal. The spirit, energy cannot be destroyed or created.
Yes, that's right. It's
so that means
recycled.
before we got here,
Yes.
we were somewhere else. We had to be.
Energy.
Our energy had to be somewhere else.
Okay.
So therefore, when we leave this earth, our energy has to be somewhere else.
It's replaced.
So basically, what's your thoughts on
reincarnation?
Reincarnation, sure.
Okay, so
There are no right or wrong answers. I just want to know.
yeah, well, I hope not. So, okay, so
And really,
it's
who does know? You
twofold.
have to die first. Come on.
It's a twofold. Well, let me speak to you in the yogic tradition first, because, I'm a yoga teacher. So it's within the teachings for me, based on Eastern philosophy, that there is such, and that there's the karma wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are here to learn lessons. And there are imprints within the soul. And so in order to have those things released, you must practice on the wheel. And so with practice, you're able to burn off those imprints, those energetic imprints, so that when you move forward, reincarnation, those lessons are no longer, until you can continue. When you come back, you're on the karmic wheel.
Right.
You learn the lesson. You come back, you're on the karmic wheel. Each time you're taking it up higher and higher, higher, until you can free self and finally be.
One thing that always intrigued me is in getting older, you realize these things. Like I said, 52 years old next month, and it's like a lifetime is not long enough to. I'm just now learning lessons in life that I should have learned 30 years ago.
But there is no should. Really, it is what it is.
Right.
But if you ask me personally about reincarnation, I think it's just a very interesting concept.
Right.
The one thing that I know is I know nothing.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly
like,
right.
let me just put it out
Right.
there. Yeah, the one
Exactly.
thing I know is, there are all these, theories and philosophies, and they all are relative, and they all make sense.
Yeah,
They
have
no
common
judgment.
points.
Oh, without a doubt.
They
I
really
mean, when
do.
you feel something and you feel a kinship to such,
Yes.
then
Right.
that's your reality.
Right, and like I said, the
Yeah.
takeaway for me is this life is so short. Even if you live 80 years old, this life is
Yeah.
so short, and you can't possibly become the best person you could ever be in 80 years. Even, I mean, it's just too short of amount of a time. There has to be more time to do the things
To
that
work
you.
things
Right,
out.
there just has to be right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the most that we can do is just really try to be aware of, presence, how we are presenting ourselves, and what are we really projecting, out there in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are we just really, really practicing being good people?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's good,
Like,
right.
are we practicing just being really kind and, being good people?
Yes, right. It's
Yeah.
contagious, right? It
Right?
does, right.
Yeah.
It's very contagious. You can set a spark that lights a fire, and it goes a long ways, for sure. That's very interesting, And how much more minutes we have left, Chris?
You got about 7 minutes.
Okay, good. We good to go then. That sounds great. So put the phone number on the screen again. We're going to try to invite some more callers real quick. There you go. So 225-713-5099. And call in if you have any questions for Tonya with Inside Out Yoga. And we'd be glad to talk to you. So if people want to get in contact with you, tell me some services that you offer to people to help them out.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I offer yoga of many types. So I am really doing privates, one-on-ones now for the most part. Anyone in need for any type of service. Yoga is for everyone. So that being said, when someone contacts me and they ask about the practice, what I do is I take that information and I say, okay, well, what is it that you're looking for? Because there is not a one size that fits all within the practice that I offer to the community. So for me, it's very personal. So what is your journey? What are you looking to do? What are you looking to accomplish? Are you looking for relaxation? Are you looking for meditation? Do you want to learn how to breathe? Are you looking to really get some stress out of your body? So it really, really is based on what it is that you are looking for. And all of it's yoga.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
all of it's yoga.
Like I said, physical, any kind of physical disability, you can kind of work around that, and you still can have classes, right?
Yes.
Very, very
Absolutely.
Good. Very good. Age group is not a problem either, right?
I really do not practice with children.
Interesting. Wow.
Absolutely. These
That's
kids
good.
are now coming out of the womb and doing it. Yoga is so popular
Right.
and such a commercial practice these days also. Oh, yeah.
I did not know that. Very
Yes,
interesting.
yes.
Wow.
But it's also very important to find a teacher that you're compatible with based on what it is that you're looking for. So
right.
as I'm acknowledging, I'm not a teacher for kids, and I am not the teacher that you would call for a teenager based on what I offer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
You
Wow,
want some
sounds great.
compatibility.
Sounds great. So, so basically, yoga would be like a lifetime of classes or whatever. Is as far as something that you would just only do for a certain amount of time and then go do something else. It's a lifestyle, basically, right?
It's a lifestyle. Yoga is a lifestyle, but it also complements everything that you do. So, for example, if you're an athlete, it really complements your practice because you're always working out with weights, or you're a runner. It complements
right.
you if you have diabetes, helps to take those numbers down. It complements you if you're very, you have a lot of anxious energy and you're always stressed out. It complements. your lifestyle. Yeah.
That's very
Yoga
interesting.
really is a lifestyle. Yeah.
Yes, that is awesome.
It's just a little sprinkle of 60 minutes or so into your day and helps to smooth everything out.
Right. That's
Yeah.
great. I want to talk about some stuff that you have coming up too pretty soon. We're going to be collaborating on some stuff pretty soon here.
Oh, so excited
Talk
about
a little
that.
bit about what you have planned for like your website and your little series you want to do.
Yeah.
Because that will be coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, it's coming out really soon. Thank you,
Yes,
Dave. Yeah.
yes.
I'll be working on a podcast.
Awesome.
And yeah, thank you so
Yes,
much.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited about
Yes.
that. It will have some writings and a blog site for people to share in the journey, and I'll talk about perhaps something that has happened that day within the yoga community and create some analogies. And then we'll take it into the practice. So
Great.
this will give you an opportunity to practice with me, but you will hear me, but you will not see me.
Yes, right.
So it helps you to really move more into your body. So it's a non-visual,
That's great.
but with that practice, you get to really trust yourself, trust that you're doing it the correct way, feel your way through the practice.
That is amazing. So this will be something you could
It's
they could do.
voice-led.
They could do every day, pretty much.
Anytime you want to,
that's
just click
amazing.
on. Absolutely.
I cannot wait
Yeah.
to see that. That's gonna be great.
I am too. I'm
highly
so
recommend
excited
it.
to
Yes.
roll that out.
Highly recommend that for
Yeah.
anybody that wants to get involved
Fingers
with
crossed.
it. Yes, right.
Yeah.
Some locally produced some stuff from here in Porky Pete. That's great.
Thank you, Dave.
That sounds good. All right. Well, I think we have a few more minutes left. But is there anything that you want to wrap up with as far as thoughts go and everything for our audience?
Well, I'm really excited to be working with you, Dave, for this project that's coming up, and I'm really grateful to have had this opportunity to sit and
Well,
chat
yeah.
with
Thanks
you
for coming
today.
on. Thanks for saying yes to come on the show.
So great. Yeah. I'm
Yes.
over the moon that you're here. You know, of course, we're in a small town, small parish, but you've brought so much great creative energy into the space
I appreciate
and into
that.
the town. You
Yes.
know, yeah, you're
Sometimes it's kind of hard, but you got to plug along, you know.
right. Just keep doing what you love. You know, that's really it. It takes a lot of courage to just do what you love,
Right.
create space for that, you know, and you do that.
I appreciate that. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Well, thanks. So,
Amen.
well, we're definitely going to have you on again, right?
Thank you.
So we'll invite you to come on anytime you want to come on, and cannot wait to hear more about what's going on, some more success stories that you got coming up, and well, that sounds great.
Oh, if anyone wants to get in touch with me for yoga,
Yes,
excuse me,
go
I
ahead.
completely forgot to mention that. I'm on Instagram at New Roads Yoga and Facebook at Tonya Wyandon.
Very, very good. And they can find you there.
Yes.
And of course, they can find you on the Dave K Show YouTube channel. Go
Absolutely.
back and watch this episode and share it with your friends too.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Well, that sounds great. So glad you came out here.
Thank you.
Looking forward to having you back very soon. We're going to be
Yes.
working on your project, and that will
Yes.
be out on your Instagram and Facebook. You'll be
Yeah.
making regular updates on that on a rollout. And sounds great. Well, that being said, I want to thank you for coming out once again, and thanks everybody for watching. Go to our YouTube channel and watch this program after we're done for tonight. Like and subscribe. Get this video out to your friends. Let them know all about Tonya's work and everything that she's doing. It'll help you out. It'll help your friends out for sure. And with that being said, we're going to wrap up tonight's show. And I want to especially thank Christopher Baston, our director and producer, Timmy Gyro, and for Tonya.